the APC Convention. The convention that caused a lot of traffic in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, both in the air and in the land. Planes, aircraft flying into the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, for the National Convention of the party that acclaimed itself as the largest political party in Africa. The convention that had 31 governors in attendance, the president, the vice president, the wife of the president, the wife of the vice president, the Senate president, the Speaker of the House of Rep, former Senate president, who is who in the country, were there. About 8,000 delegates voted in the convention. At the end of the day, by consensus, new NWC members emerged. We have to talk about this convention because this APC convention will decide or will influence the 2027 presidential election and indeed gubernatorial and national assembly election in the country. Stay tuned. My dear friend, at the end of the day, activities of APC that started with the World Congress was culminated in Abuja, because as far as I'm concerned, that was a coronation, a mother of all coronation, a mother of all rallies, a big convention. For the first time, 31 governors sat in a convention. I don't think that has happened in the country in a long time. And at the end of the day, the convention was very beautiful. We saw speeches from many chieftains of the party, government officials. The finance minister spoke on how they have been working and improving the economy. The president talked about many things. I don't believe in one party state. One party state is not good for Nigeria, but I'll have to allow people to come in line with their constitutional right. Power sector is going to improve. They talked about Jackpa, many issues. But the fact was that convention occupied the mind, the headlines, and indeed a lot of things in this country. In fact, civil servants were asked to work at home on Friday, and people began to ask, whether the country is now officially, adopting APC. But you can argue APC is the party in power, so they can say, okay, fine, because we are the party in power, we are the one paying you your salaries indirectly. Stay at home. How do you put the convention is beautiful as far as I'm concerned?
Okay, yes. The convention is beautiful in the eye. And of course, it is not something to deny that it had the kind of attendance that was recorded. But I also want to state that the convention had so much lies flying about. As a matter of fact, it's a convention of lies. Too many lies, starting with the Minister of Finance. He said that the president is doing all what not and the country is stabilizing. Maybe there is another Nigeria somewhere that is being stabilized and being governed very well by the president that we do not know of. But as far as I'm concerned, this current Nigeria is already strangling the average Nigerian. Secondly, the president talked about the government's attention to power and other aspects that has bedeviled the economy of this country. And we begin to wonder if this same thing was not said 3 years ago. Because the president said that if he does not fix the problem of electricity, we shouldn't vote him for a second term. And 2027 is not far away from now. And so far, the electricity problem we are having in this country is becoming a trend that is worrisome. As a matter of fact, some of us do not even believe that electricity may come back again. So does it mean that the president will go back on his words? Him saying that we are paying attention to it and still telling us again in 2023 not to vote him again, if he fails. That is a question mark for him to also answer. Will he still want to go back on his word by contesting when he has failed in the aspect of electricity? Well, so a lot of lies were paraded, and no matter how beautiful the convention looked, lies were flying all over the place, and I can best describe it as a convention of lies.
I beg to differ with you. Now see the area I differ. Someone said if I don't fix electricity, vote me out. But there's still time. You don't know. The electricity could be fixed on the 15th of January 2027, few hours to the election, and there will be 24 hours at this thing. So my point is that there's still time. What if what if you are being unfair to the government when you say, then when you talk about the electricity again, they gave a good reason, which is that it's a global issue. They're having problem with getting gas, and we all know what is happening in the Middle East. So it's the effect of the war in the Middle East. And then the finance minister only not too long ago, I think this last week, even came to apologize.
With due respect, the president should stop playing on our sensibilities. The global crisis regarding gas did not start the problem of electricity. It preceded it. The problem of electricity has been there even before the war or the problem going on in the Middle East. So why are they hinging on the problem going on in the Middle East as
but the problem acclimatized it, or
before then? How many Nigerians can boast of a complete 6 to 8 hours light in a day? So now that it has acclimatized it, what difference does it make? We have been suffering it. The difference there is that it has become worse than it used to be. And they talked about fixing the grid. This grid that falls every single time. See, in fact, I still believe that this government, corruption has never been so unprecedented as it is right now. The way the national grid collapses, you begin to wonder if this thing is actually what it is, or if there are people who are actually benefiting from
What if some people are just trying to sabotage the president because they know election is around the corner?
He's a master strategist.
Be that as it may, you have not talked about the beauty of the convention, the decoration, the security. We saw tight security. We saw the Minister of Defense show us their security corner, where from there you can view the security of the entire place. You could see that from there, yes, you can monitor every activity going on at the Eagle Square. The convention that have over 8,000 delegates, the convention that have 31 governors. You haven't talked about the beauty of the convention.
Okay, I want to talk about the beauty of the convention.
Yes, I insist it has to be talked about.
The convention is beautiful, and we have a very ugly looking country with an ugly economy. The convention is filled with so much security, and insecurity wants to finish the citizens. There is kidnapping here and there going on in the northeast, in the northwest, going on in the southeast, southwest. There is high spate of hunger in the country, and certain persons have gathered, probably will go home too with bags of envelope to enrich themselves. What is the beauty of the convention when there is no beautiful country? What is the security being paraded in the convention where there is no security in the country?
Let me tell you one of the beauty of this convention, which you may not know. Many naysayers have predicted that APC will implode. United. They didn't have to use consensus for the election. So that means those who are saying the party is going to implode, the APC was able to prove them wrong. And that convention for me signal unity. 31 governors, over 80 senators that they are going to mobilize, that are going to deliver President Asiwaju in 2027.
Unity in the party does not translate to unity in the country. Unity in the party does not translate to the sovereignty of the country. And again, when you talked about 31 governors, I keep saying this thing. These 31 governors may have their cards to their chest. They know the mood of the nation. They know exactly what may be playing, and it is dangerous for Bola Tinubu because at this point he does not even know who is truly loyal to him or who just wants to get this crumb of bread that falls from the master's table and find their way to go and do whatever they want to do. But I still insist that the government, the convention is a parade of lies, and whatever beauty that may have been transmitted from that convention does not reflect the true state of the nation. Unity, you say, yes, it happened. It is in the APC, but is there unity in the country? Security, it was on fine display. Is there security in the country? There is one voice going on in the state, in the APC. Is there one voice still parading or translating in the minds of Nigerians? these things does not translate to the overall well-being of the nation. So if we are going to have a convention to be praised, do we have a country to be proud of? That is the question we ask ourselves.
Let me tell you something I know about the convention. You know, there were internal fights in some states. You can talk about Benue, Rivers, Ondo, Enugu, to some extent Delta State. But there was an internal fight in those state chapters. But we saw them buried in this convention. And I think that's where we're going to anchor. For me as a person, seeing those people bury their differences, uniting, using consensus and returning most of the NWC members, it may be a signal that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his party is more than prepared and ready to win the 2027 election. Bearing in mind that no other political party in the country has been able to conclude a convention or start from their own ward congresses to conclude a convention. No other party. PDP is still struggling. We don't even know which of the convention is legal, and the ADC is about to start their own processes. So it may be a signal that 2027, is a walkover.
Well, I like the fact that you are busy. You are focusing on the convention, and you've been so busy at telling us how the government have been so efficient, in mobilizing people and making sure the convention holds at a strategic and concluded at a very strategic time as well. But the problem here is that you have not also said that the government is still yet to fully implement the 2025 budget as we speak. I don't know why that implementation or that effectiveness is not applied there. Does it also mean that the government does not implement effectively policies that will elevate the standard of living of the average Nigerians? Is it about political parties? Then if that is the case, we all as Nigerians should all join the APC so that we can enjoy effective governance, and maybe unity might be fostered there. But fact here is, whatever is happening in the APC and whatever that happened in that convention does not translate to what is happening. The 2025 budget, 2025 appropriation bill budget is still there, staring us in the face. The government is still planning to borrow and put us in huge debt, but conventions have been effectively organized and delegates mobilized. But yet, we still have a country bleeding both in debt and in existence. Well, we can only hope.
We have to end here today, but the fact for me remains that the APC seems to be trying to put their house in order ahead of the 2027 election. If this video come your way, please do comment, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. From here is a good day.
Good day.